Hello again, folks. I've been questioning myself about mammoth beads and thinking about their production and the time scale each one might take. I'm not just talking about one bead. I've been looking at a couple of examples here. This sort of one, which is like a barreled bead. But in particular, this little skeleton here, or a pair of skeletons, a boy and a girl, and around about 5,000 beads on each one, along with all these other bits and pieces. But an expert has claimed that these beads take about 45 minutes each, and well, that is pretty impressive. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be looking at this particular technique where you actually make a rod in the first place and then you saw around and snap them off and then perforate them through. I think that 45 minutes is pretty fast, but we'll see how we go. Well, it feels harder than bone, and it feels harder than antler, but the flint burin is certainly chasing through there. As you can see from this spool here, I'm definitely going to cut through it. One thing before I move to the next stage is talking about this particular burin itself. That's got to stay in A1 condition. There's no point in, if you hear a little click, that's the tip of your burin gone. If you carry on working with it, well, that's a good example of just wasting your time. So that has got to stay just the way it was when it was created. And so far, I haven't heard a single noise. When I manufacture them, I normally make sure that between this point and this point, that there isn't a divot in it, because if there is, then that just means that you haven't got the raw substance of the thickness, and that's what supports these and makes them work so well. But that's a healthy spool, I think. And probably sell this stuff to the Chinese. You might notice that already this is quite a wide channel, so it's a lot of mammoth tusk just being turned into dust. So I'm probably going to narrow the sides of this a little bit as well, just to see if I can keep that channel narrow. I'm 10 minutes into this groove at the moment. It's probably harder because it's 35,000 years old. I reckon this stuff would have been easier to work back in the day. But I've never worked on fresh ivory, so I'm assuming their properties are fairly similar. I think that's ready for a retouch. And it shouldn't take much, just a single click. There we go. Check the detail of the end. It's not quite right, it's a little bit collapsed right at the front, so we'll take a click off the other side too. Take out the hollow and draw back the sides again. And keep that running in good working order. When you first put a fresh burin back in, you have to be really gentle, because if it's going to break at all, you want it to break in a productive fashion so it carries on running. Seems alright. Whenever I'm making ancient things like this, it's quite obvious that you're going to start thinking about how long the job takes, and that's normally dictated by our modern minds. You know, we want the tool that's going to do this from the modern world much faster. So just to put that sort of thinking in check. By the way, I can see light through here now, so we're somewhere there. But to put that modern thinking in check, you think of someone in the Stone Age watching a beaver take down a tree with the front of his face. The time scale that takes. You're obviously going to see that a flint axe is going to be an advantage to the front of your face to take a tree down, and you're not even going to compare that to a modern metal axe. That's an advantage, and suddenly the job seems all right. So you could take this piece of flint off me and try and get me to do that with, I don't know, a shell that I've got to sharpen up or something like that. The job's going to take 10 times as long. So again, a great advantage. Well, hey, we're through it. So through it in the middle, I've just got to chop away at these ends. I'm just making the flint saw that I'm going to be introducing to this mammoth tusk here. It's a nice simple affair of actually putting one blade against the other, running it past, and you get a nice little saw. Although I'm through in the middle, I'm still quite a way off these ends. So what I was planning on doing was just coming from this front face and cutting back a little. Once I get a little seat, I won't mind knocking the teeth back in use, because it's just their signature that need to do all the work, not the actual tip of the teeth itself. It will act like a very rugged abrader. Well, I'm about 40 minutes into this now, and not too much further to go. It's funny, a little dot has appeared right between the two lines I'm carving. Looks like a moisture dot. Wouldn't have thought there was a lot of moisture in it, but there you go. But I've just broke through, and to release that little segment has so far taken 1 hour. So the next part of the journey is I'm going to find a nice coarse rock and give that an abrade and see how we go there. Well, I've got myself a decent abrader on the go now, and that's softening these sides down. A nice little steering point now, so I should really be able to get this nice and lozenge shaped, removing a lot of the markings of cutting this little billet out in itself. What I'm showing here is how effectively that edge can just do its job. The edge is just born for this kind of thing. At this point I'm ready to have a go at drilling a hole through here now, and so we've got a flint burin grafted into a hazel shaft, whipped on with some nettle and the resin I use made out of pine resin, beeswax with a bit of charcoal in it. I'll go just beyond halfway with this one, turn it over and go again from the other side. And we're through. So we can just ream that out a little bit more. And there she goes. Clip clop. So we have our first detachment, and I'm just going to round it up with by grinding. Just in the process of rubbing and polishing this little fella now, and it is said that the originals were polished on the back of leather using red ochre as a grinding paste with some water. I'm not going to use that because I don't want the red ochre staining this. I quite like its natural colours, but I've been at this for around about an hour and a half in total, which isn't too bad. I think I could probably, now that I actually have the beam, we would make many beads now and draw that time down, so we're looking at 15 minutes per bead, now that I actually have the ingot itself. But then it's the refinement on the beads which I'd like to look at more closely, just to see how perfectly round they were and so on like that. But there's a basic bead.